This special photo of a Topeka couple battling COVID-19 is very sweet, and it also is bittersweet. That's because Sandy and Gary Schaffner's daughters hope that you see this photo, hear their story, and take coronavirus seriously. This is a love story.
August 13th would have been their 60th anniversary.
Sandy and Gary Schaffner were a classic tale of opposites attract.
My mom was one hell of a golfer. Dad sucked. He tried his hardest, and it was so cute. Whereas Dad's hobby and passion was fishing. Mom hated that, but she would go.
Two strong personalities.
Dad was always the calming soul to really all of us, and Mom was a firecracker.
Her feistiness is what made her who she is.
Together in health.
They loved to travel. They partied hard. They both loved the University of Kansas.
And sickness. Sandy beat breast cancer and a severe brain injury.
She had to learn to walk again. She had to learn to talk again.
And in mid-June, both caught COVID-19. Gary got sick first with minor symptoms.
In the span of 6 hours, everything just went to hell. As his fever had spiked, his blood pressure had skyrocketed, his pulse ox had plummeted.
Days later, Sandy fell ill too.
They did nothing wrong. They were on lockdown since March. It just happened.
This couple, who spent precious few days apart over the past 6 decades, were now fighting for their lives, separated, no visitors allowed. Daughters Terry Mayhew and Stacy Vobach asked the administrators at Stormontvale Hospital in Topeka if they'd make an exception for them to be together. They agreed.
They lowered the bed rails. They pushed their beds together so they could hold hands.
Terry posted this photo to Facebook, two faces of what for many is an invisible fight.
Frustrated with the mask thing. I was frustrated with the people not believing COVID. And I just sat down and I thought, you know what? I'm going to share this photo. Maybe this picture of Mom and Dad is going to be, it's going to drive the point home.
Terry put up the photo Monday and thousands of people shared it. Tuesday afternoon, Gary Schaffner passed away, his beloved wife by his side. Wednesday evening, Sandy took her last breath as well. So she was fighting COVID, but ultimately, why do you feel your mom passed away?
Broken heart. It was Gary and Sandy, partners for life. And so it's a blessing that they were both called home to heaven within 30 hours.
What do you hope people take away from this story?
This is real. This is reality. Please wear a mask. Please, if you're not feeling well, don't go outside. Not think about it as someone's telling you what to do. It's just the right thing to do. And I don't want any family to go through this pain of telling your loved ones goodbye via FaceTime.
We don't wish this upon anyone. It is a brutal disease.
And as much as they're dealing with loss, they hope everyone remembers the love.
It's a relief. It played out how it did. And I'm at peace with that because they're together.
The family calls the workers, the healthcare workers at Stormontvale, the true heroes in this story. They say that they have to serve as the surrogate family members since loved ones aren't allowed at the bedside right now. So all of our best to the Schaffner family tonight. Every day with Frankie Fergus is a gift.
This kid has fought off 10 years of a medical diagnosis that wasn't going to give him a chance to live.
Frankie started having breathing trouble almost immediately after birth. No one knew quite why until a baseball-sized growth on his neck made a doctor suspect NF, neurofibromatosis. It's a genetic condition causing tumors to grow around nerve fibers.
I left the office and I collapsed. I just was on my knees because we didn't know. We didn't know what it meant. We didn't know what the future was. We didn't know anything.
All they knew was doctors said NF has no cure and no treatments for tumors that often are inoperable. The family was sent to a specialist in Philadelphia.
They came in and said, it's one of the most severe cases in a child this age that we've ever seen. He certainly will never walk. He'll never talk. He'll never have the abilities more than an infant.
Pretty much we were told, go home, hold your child, enjoy the time you have.
They did, but they also decided to fight back. At 6 months old, a doctor gave Frankie a trach to help him breathe and a feeding tube for nutrition. Then they waited.
We knew this wasn't solving the tumor issue.
By the time Frankie was 6 years old, the tumors had grown beyond his trach, compressing his airway so much air was only getting through a space the width of 2 dimes.
It was basically killing him. These tumors were cutting off his airway, so he was at a point where he wasn't going to be able to breathe again.
Doctors can't simply remove the tumors because they're so wrapped up in his nerves and tissues. The only idea they offered was a life-threatening surgery to perhaps scrape away some of the growth. Still, doctors kept searching, and that landed them at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, where for the first time, they heard something new.
Options and hope.
First, the Cincinnati doctors stented open Frankie's airway. Then, in 2016, he became their first patient in a clinical trial for AstraZeneca's drug Koselugo, research funded by Children's Tumor Foundation.
It's like if you look at the brakes in a car, they have the front brakes, but not the back brakes. Their cell division is still controlled. It's still kind of okay. But of course, if they now lose the front brakes, then the car can't stop anymore, and cell division just keeps going. It's kind of putting in some set of artificial brakes, if you want.
This was Frankie when he started the trial.
He wasn't very interactive. He didn't smile. He couldn't put his head up or down. He couldn't move left or right. He couldn't put his tongue in his mouth. But the breathing was the worst.
3 years later, his main tumors have shrunk 33%.
So funny!
More than enough to bring back Frankie's smile.
The cognitive things just skyrocketed. Before we started, his IEP was very social based at school, just making sure he has social time and getting to interact with kids. And then all of a sudden, the teachers were like, hey, he knows something, he's learning. So we started learning colors and shapes.
And then there was this.
Come here.
Frankie started walking.
Nice job, bud.
We went through so many years of hearing there's nothing we can do.
Nice job.
And now there's something that can be done. There's options.
We've always talked about hope, but this is not hope. This is real. This drug works.
In mid-April, Koselugo became the first drug to earn Food and Drug Administration approval to treat children with NF1.
We can finally go now to the families and tell them that there is something.
Every day now brings new victories for Frankie. He finally can communicate with a device and some sign language. This is thank you.
Signing I love you was a fun one for us.
Watching Frankie find his world and his place in it brings faith of a brighter future, opening the door not just for their family, but for others.
And that feeling of hopelessness is one of the worst feelings you can feel as a parent. And any little bit of hope makes a tremendous difference.
Giving other families a chance to maybe fight this disease like we have is real encouraging to us.
So many great players taking a trip down memory lane. Also, Jordy Nelson has played in the Super Bowl from Riley County. He won a title with the Green Bay Packers.
It was surreal. Just knowing that I was a part of something of those sort of history. You're one of very few people or one team that year that's going to end on a win and be a champion. After we received the trophy and all the confetti fell, they were trying to get me into the media room and kind of rushing myself, my wife Emily, and our first son Royal turned 1 that week, so he was down on the field with me. I remember we got to about the 30-yard line, and I told the lady that was walking us off, I was like, hold on, I need to stop. And we all stopped, turned around, looked back at what was going on. And I vividly remember that, and I'm very happy that I was under enough control to do that and soak it back in, because we all thought we'd be back and never got there. So we try to take it in as much as possible.
As ingrained as those memories are, as proud as he is to have the history, the jersey he wore that day displayed on the walls of his family's restaurant in Leonardville, Kansas, Jordy Nelson also will tell you what the Super Bowl is not.
To me, a lot of people say this game will change your life if you win it, and it doesn't. I mean, people recognize you more, but it shouldn't change your life. So I think to keep it in perspective, that it's the pinnacle of our job is to go out there and win this game. But hopefully there's bigger things in their lives, that this Super Bowl won't change their life forever. But it is the pinnacle. I'm not trying to downplay that of our job, but people always told us, you win a Super Bowl in Green Bay, you'll never have to buy a beer, never have to buy a dinner, and that's not true. I've bought plenty of food and bought plenty of drinks in Green Bay since I won the Super Bowl.
Which he says is how it should be.
I stayed the same, at least I believe I did.
He's still the kid from that small field at Riley County High, an example of what can happen when you reach for the biggest stage.
I think everyone has a chance, and everyone has an opportunity. You don't know when your opportunity is going to come, but you will have an opportunity. If it's in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, NFL, and then you don't know when it is, and you might not know when it was until after it's already been passed. So it's just to make the most of your opportunity.
And when you do reach the pinnacle, know there's always another spot to climb.
Enjoy the moment, because the other thing is someone's going to win it next year, and it most likely won't be you. It could be. Take it all in while you can.
Both Jordy Nelson and Michael Wilhoit told me that the week is certainly different with all the hype, and the game day timeline is drawn out with all the activities. But once you are on that field, it's football, and you just play to win.